Hello, hello. I wanted to do a small intro to Stationeers on the moon. So let's play that. Easy mode. Standard starting equipment because we don't want the hard stuff. Of course, that's something you already tried. The question that you have is, what in the hell am I supposed to do while I'm in the game? First thing you do, you press L to turn off your flashlight because it takes a lot of electricity from your suit's battery,
Power critical.
which you need for survival. How am I even using the mouse here? That's something you learn in the very first tutorial, and if you don't play those, nobody can help you. So press the left Alt key, left of the spacebar, then you get the mouse pointer. You can also use the keyboard keys to open and close these things, but that's something I never do, so. Before we go deeper, you can press F3 to see the console, and here you can say orbit. You can also say help, then you will see all kinds of commands, but let's use orbit. Orbit. Then you see some values here. One of them is the time scale, which is 0.03, and you can do, for example, orbit time scale 0.03 as an example. You can use any value you want. You can also fast forward reality. This would give us 10 times the day-night cycle duration, 200 minutes, which is normally 20 minutes. I would stick with 20 minutes because, well, the plants that you plant, they are always on the 20-minute cycle. But it's much nicer to play on a slower day-night cycle, particularly for beginners, because then you have more daytime before things go dark, you know. Whatever, it's your choice. But be wary. If you don't use the sun to give your plants light and also darkness, yes, they need darkness, then you will run into trouble. Okay, so we have that thing. There's some gas in there that I usually don't actually use. If you light it on fire, the gas that comes out there, that's just pure fire. That's a pure fuel gas. Then here's the landing capsule, which even has two things here that I could take with me. There's some water bottles in here and some food. Yes, you need to eat, but I mean, in a survival game, you usually have to do that. Down here, you can see what your current food and water resources are inside your body, basically. And you can see here a tooltip, which is not too important, but it's one of many tooltips that Stationeers has. They are dynamic. So what are the tooltips telling us here? Open, survival supplies. The name that you can see here, survival supplies, is arbitrary. I mean, it's defined here and it is meaningful, but you can name the things in the game yourself. So you can name things anything. For example, here we have the oxygen canister,
Air tank critical.
which is called that, but I could also call it, I don't know, fuel gas. It would still be the oxygen canister. Hey, why can't I click this? I think we're kind of running into trouble. They're currently implementing the new terrain system, and I wonder if I'm running into a snag related to that. This is still the old one, you know. Okay. So one of the first things you definitely want to do is go here to your backpack and take the Atmos Analyzer cartridge, drag it into your tablet, drag the tablet into your hand, or just right click, which is faster. You don't have to drag the whole time then. That is something no one tells you, you know, the right click. It's a trick that for whatever reason that they don't inform you of. And that was even my feature suggestion. So let's toss out the oxygen tank again, and then we see that it is not visible in the world. Really, there must be, I mean, I've played 2,000 hours of this game, so this is not behavior that I'm used to. I guess I'm gonna die now because I don't have any access to my oxygen anymore. Which is kind of annoying. Was it because it was too close? I don't know. Huh. Anyway, so this is the lander. This is the stuff that we brought. And everything is very interactive. I mean, we can turn on and off the filters of the spacesuit, and this is not just toy stuff, everything is simulated. If I turn off the filters, then these guys will no longer be active, and so you can see here over there, the current pressure in my spacesuit is 97 kilopascals. This will now slowly rise to 98 and 99 and so forth, because the system will keep putting air from my oxygen tank into my spacesuit, since the air is currently on. I mean, it's saying off here, but that's a matter of intent. If your intention is to turn that off, you click on the off button. If you intend to turn it on, you click on the on button. All buttons in Stationeers will tell you what they do when you would click on them. That's something to get used to. So this would rise to 98 kilopascals at some point, because the filters here make sure that whatever we have in our spacesuit that doesn't belong there, the CO2 that we breathe out, will also be removed. And the airflow makes sure that we get enough oxygen. So since currently the CO2 will not be removed, but air will keep coming in, so that we can breathe, eventually the pressure will increase, and then it will no longer put some more oxygen in there, because, well, the maximum pressure is set to 101 kilopascals. You can adjust that here. Yep, real spacesuit. Simplified, gamified, but it's real. Yeah, let's look at the various things that we have here so to get a feel for that. This is your helmet.
Pressure critical.
Currently we're not wearing it.
Oxygen critical.
Now we are. Very forgiving, huh? And I can open that helmet by pressing I, except that is currently disabled. Now I can press I.
Pressure critical.
Or this button.
Oxygen critical.
And if you ever have some crap in your spacesuit that doesn't belong... Oh right, this tampered with the experiment that was ongoing, huh? Then you can click flush, which will just empty the space in which you find yourself and will fill everything up with oxygen. But that costs a lot of oxygen here. But it's good for emergencies. I mean, what if you have some other gases in your spacesuit, but you don't have the filters for them? What if you have some gas in here, in your oxygen canister? I wish I could actually look at that tank. For whatever reason I can't.
Air tank critical.
Ah, here we go. You can see it now. There's O2. You can see the temperature, 19.8 Celsius. It's cooling down now because the ambient temperature on the moon is 50 Kelvin in this game, which is very, very, very cold. And you can see here that it is not convecting away anything. No wonder we are in a vacuum, which is neither cold nor warm. It just doesn't have temperature. But then there's also, contrary to what Hollywood tells you, and then here it is radiating away heat. This is a positive number.
Oxygen low.
Okay, what's happening? Obviously I need oxygen.
Oxygen critical.
Here you can see it's now filling up using the oxygen canister. So if the number is positive, then it is... Oh, let's use the waste tank then as an example.
Waste tank critical.
Then it is radiating away heat, and if the number is negative, then it is receiving thermal energy by radiation. So for example, if the environment is very hot, that would be a negative number, because this thing is heating up. Yeah, that didn't make much difference because the filters are off currently. At some point we will have to deal with that.
Oxygen low.
Oh, that's already happening? Interesting. Interesting timing. At some point... yeah, see, we're having a problem. And the pressure is now building. It's just like I explained earlier. So if I turn on the filters... You see, it's removing all the CO2, and we're fine again. Now it's filling up with oxygen. To some degree. Okay, what do we have to do here? You have now gotten a taste of what it means to survive in this game. But obviously, I mean, here on the moon, this is not the way to be. I should be out of my spacesuit, basically. I should have something to eat and to drink. So we need a water source, we need a food source. And ideally, an environment that is not too cold, not too warm, and that can be breathed. So how do we get that? By building a one. Oh, about these here. The helmet, then with the glasses, which you in most cases won't be wearing. There are decorative glasses, and there are also some which allow you to even look through the soil, so you can see here these guys below the ground and dig for them straight away, including what they are. You won't see there's some black spot down there. Instead, you will see CA, I believe, for carbon. Anyway, so then we have the spacesuit itself,
Pressure critical.
which is kind of
Oxygen
important.
critical.
Then we have the backpack, which is optional, and it can be a jetpack, and you start with the jetpack. Yeah, you can fly. Yep, you press J for that. I recommend changing that to Shift. Here we have the controls. That is also how I originally found out that you can press Alt to get the mouse pointer. Quite a few controls, huh? But I mean about 1/3 of these are completely irrelevant or don't function. It's a bit weird, but I mean, it's an early access game. You can't expect everything to be fine. But I record sometimes 7 to 8 hour videos. Oh, look at that, a smooth transition to an eclipse. And the game doesn't crash. You can just, I mean, keep recording. And this is not just the early access version, like anyone can play, but this is even the beta version, which you can also choose to play. It's just some clicks in Steam. So then we have the uniform, which I can remove now, because it doesn't matter. Somehow I can remove that while wearing the spacesuit. And then we have the tool belt, or whatever belt you'd be wearing there. And I recommend that you move the mining belt there, because... Oops, that wasn't right. Because the tool belt doesn't benefit from being there, but the mining belt does. If I... now it's night. If I dig here, the coal will immediately be transported into the mining belt. Otherwise, it would fall to the ground. So that's why that's a good idea to swap the mining belt right here. And well, if you want to play Minecraft, you can do that. The sounds are very muffled because we're on the moon, where there is no atmosphere. And so if there would be an explosion nearby, we would not hear that at all. Except if the gases of the explosion reach us. That's how it works. So, tooltips. Here we can pick the stuff out. And here it says a wrench can be used to unfasten. So let's use the wrench. Right mouse button for teleporting. And then it falls to the ground. But instead of doing all of that manually, we can also look at the lander. It's saying now angle grinder required to deconstruct. Oh, why didn't it say that before? Because I'm holding a tool now. And that's a very, very, very important tip that you have to keep in mind. If you want to build something in Stationeers and you don't know how to proceed, just take a tool and then you will get a tooltip that will tell you what you need. Now we'll take the angle grinder, and now it does no longer tell us that, so sometimes you have to intentionally pick the wrong tool to get some information. But here now I can use that to deconstruct the lander, which is effectively only decorative anyway, so why not do that? So with F1 you get help documentation with hyperlinks. With F2 you can turn it on and off the 2D interface. With F3 you get the console, and with F5 you save the game, which also happens automatically anyway, except I turned off autosave because I often hop around between game versions, and I don't want my save games to get damaged by an unintended save. Alright, so before I go into the details of what we have here, let's open the construction supplies, pick out the iron frames, and then... Oh, I was in zoom mode the whole time. Then I can click the right mouse button, which I also used for the mining drill to turn it on and off, or for the tablet to turn it on and off. Don't forget to turn it off. It has a battery, which will be discharged if you use it. And then I can, right mouse button, can place these things. So this is the foundation for our station. Guess I should turn down the music a little, huh? And now I will take the iron sheets. Why do I do that? Well, does this look constructed to you? I mean, I can even fall through. And this is surely not airtight. If I point at that with the angle grinder, then it will just allow me to deconstruct the frame, which I don't want to do. Then I get that complete frame back, it's not lost. But if I pick the right tool, aka a wrong tool in this case, then I will get information. It tells me the angle grinder deconstructs that, the welding torch and one iron sheet continues the construction. So let's take the welding torch, and the tooltip tells us you have to turn that thing on. And if I don't have the iron sheets in my hand, then it will tell us that. So, can also swap the hands, it doesn't matter. And did you hear that? That filter effect? That's because there's suddenly some gas. Yep. And you can see here I can weld that twice. This is one time, not yet airtight, but I can construct on it and walk on it. And 2 times makes it airtight. And that's all. You can't weld it 3 times or something. Yeah, that's what you can see here is the gas streaming away. The gas of our operations here. And if you use the tablet now, you can indeed measure that. Well, let's do that to get a feel for that. Can also turn that on in the world right like this, I believe. Yeah, there are some keyboard keys that allow you to decrease and increase the field of view live in the game. And even to reset it to whatever you have defined in the settings menu. Yeah, you can look those up. They are keypad minus, plus, and enter. Now we have some CO2 and pollutant. Now we have a lot more of that. And now it's dying down again. And now it's going away entirely. Sadly, the game doesn't yet have a wall-mounted tablet holder, because it would be very cool to have such a console in your station that tells you what's going on, right? But at least you can set up tables and then place a tablet holder on those. So yeah, but I find it mighty stupid that this isn't a thing. So where do I want my solar panels? I don't know, actually, I really don't. Okay. The indoors, of course, have to be airtight, but I guess I'm going to leave some outdoor space, and this is it. Yeah. So before you put up any walls, it's advisable to carry your stuff from your lander to your station. Particularly on worlds with atmosphere, which the moon is not, obviously, because on worlds with atmosphere, there will be storms. And they will blow your stuff away. Everything that's loose, that's like the lander, for example, even the lander with your stuff on it, that can be blown away. Oh, maybe I should talk about the throwing. I mean, you can see that stuff down here, right, where the mouse pointer is. You can see Q is for throwing, or for just tossing down. T is for placing carefully. And E is for swapping hands. So that is water. And I mean, all this stuff is simulated. On a world that's very cold, you will see that your water will eventually get slightly... Okay, this one is already slightly colder. It's not at 20 degrees anymore, it's 19.9. Because as you can see here, it's radiating away some heat. But the thermal mass in there, because water is very, very high, while what we have here, our oxygen tank, that has relatively low mass. It's just air, you know, it's just oxygen. So you can see it has cooled down further already. These are not things that you have to remember. I'm just trying to give you a perspective of how deep and wide the simulation is. You might think that this game is too hard, but this game is actually relatively easy. I mean, well, I mean, I've been playing it for many hours, so easy for me to say. But I mean, I have also seen other games, and what I mean by easy here is that things are so logical. They are founded on very hard, high-level rules that, if you think about them, and then you wonder why something's behaving like it does, you realize, yeah, of course it does, because of this very hard, high-level rule. Instead of arbitrary rules where you have to remember and memorize everything in detail because of the arbitrariness of the game simulation. No, this simulation uses high-level systems. And just it's giving you a user interface so that you can experience it. There's also some magical devices and magical stuff in there, which the developers are removing slowly. I mean, the game has been in development for like, I don't know, 10 years or whatever. Or is it even older than that? I'm not sure. I think the early access release was 2017, and you know, early access is not the first day of programming, so I would say it's probably older than 10 years. Anyway, now we need some walls. I just picked up some iron walls, and now things get interesting. Right mouse button to build. Now we have some choices to make. Choice number 1. Do we want the wall here? No. And if so, do we want it on that side of this box, or do we want it on this side of that box? What does that matter? Well, if you place cables on a wall, like on this wall, if it were real already, then the cables would be inaccessible to you. But if you place the cables here, then you can easily access them, because this side is open. Incidentally, the walls also have some kind of a decorated side. You can maybe kind of see that here. If you look from here, we have some kind of lines and such, a decoration on the left side, on the outer side of this box, of this little sheet. And here we have some kind of indentation, some X and some indentation. And that's the construction side, basically, the back side. So I will now choose not this wall type, because there's more to learn. You can use the mouse wheel to choose different types of walls. That's something you can see here. You might think, oh, that's so much to learn. No, I'm just, I'm touching many topics at once. This means why it seems like it's much to learn. But there are also other wall things. Let's see, the frames. Okay, this is also a kit, but it only has one entry, so I cannot do anything by scrolling the mouse. But there are other things that are also a kit. I mean, many things in the game are a kit, like the walls here. So this is a system, which you learn once, and then that's it. So I said the walls, they have a decorated side, and that's this side. Basically, when you're standing inside the box and you're looking at the wall that is part of the same box, then you're looking at the decorated side. So in other words, if I place the wall like this, so that I could easily access the cables, then I'm at the same time making sure that I have the decorated side on the outside, from which I would see the station when I'm outside. You can also place more walls. You can just say, well, I will just place walls on the inside and outside. There's no problem with that, and sometimes that's even necessary. What if you want to change something around, and then you have to open up a wall, and then your station will lose all the atmosphere. So you just go out there and place a wall, or on the whatever, you place an extra wall so that you can remove the other. So what am I doing here? I'm leaving an entrance. We have to get into the station, and I'm doing this because we are in space. This means that you need an airlock. And the airlock always has 2 doors. You should make your airlock small like this, the one by one box, because I mean you can make bigger airlocks, but that's for advanced players. Because I mean if you have an air pump here that sucks out the air from this box, and the sensor here also that tells you the box is empty, we can switch the doors and such, then what if the airlock is bigger? There might still be some gas here. I mean, it slowly streams over here, and then you would just mix atmospheres and such. You don't want to do that. Let's put the sealing in. Once again, I will use glass. How am I even rotating these things? Well, you see that in the tooltip there. I'm using the 6 keys above the arrow keys. What you can also do is you can hold, I think it's the C key for you. I changed my keyboard configuration because it's just more fluent this way. For you, you would press C, I press R, which chooses a rotation. This seemed rather arbitrary, right? But there are situations when the choice of rotation is not arbitrary at all, and you will see that once we put in some cables, and then this auto rotate key is actually very, very useful. As it will be very soon. Alright, so there are walls everywhere, but they're open, aren't they? What do we do about this? You know what we do about this. What is it that we have to do, huh? Do you remember? Tooltip. So we need iron sheets to continue the construction. And now it's telling us we need glass sheets. Oh, I didn't even know it would tell us that when we're just holding building materials. Anyway, so we need glass sheets, and since we have 2 hands, we can do that rather efficiently. I know I forgot one. I want to show you something later. That might be all of them. Oh yeah, that's a wall. That's basically a favorite to forget to build. Okay, why did I leave out one of the walls? By the way, you can click on these guys, but you have learned that already, that you can click on the individual things and you will see its inventory. And in the case of stacks, like this thing here, then you will see the option to split the stack. For example, in half, which I don't want now, I want to split out 1, because I want to take that with me. Anyway, so everything has been closed up. No, it has not been closed up. Let's use the crowbar and look at these walls. This one's closed. This one's closed. This one's closed. Oh. See, and careful. If you point at the frame, then you think, oh, everything is highlighted, so it's closed. No, it's not closed. This one is not closed. Now the ceiling. Oh, I've already seen there's a hole, actually. All the middle ones are not closed.
Power low.
Well, it's a survival game. You have to make sure that you don't run out of battery power for your spacesuit. I mean, you have seen already there's other batteries here, and guess what? these are compatible. It's just that this battery is much weaker.
Power low.
It doesn't hold as much charge. Well, how do we get power then? We could use a solar panel. Let's see, where's the electricity supplies? Airlock supplies and electrical supplies, yep. And there we see, for example, some batteries, so we could do that, for example. But why?
Power low.
It's not yet critical. And here is the solar panel. I mean, there are multiple solar panel types in the game. This one is very basic. Basically, I kind of want to point that... Okay, there's another case of you can use the mouse wheel flat or like this, flat or like this, you know? And then I can rotate this. I'm using the auto-rotate key. Can also hold that down and use the mouse wheel. Is it producing something? No, because we're not done constructing. So, some glass. If I would use the tool, it would tell us we need a glass sheet. So that's universally true. Okay, and now we have a solar panel and it is producing 400 watts. And less so. Because the sun is moving out of the cone that would give this thing power. I mean, even if this thing would be flat on the ground instead of pointing diagonally, and the sun would still be way high still, it would not produce any power. Because, you know, it needs to be pointed directly at the sun, or kind of directly, else it won't produce anything. This is in this form currently useless to us. Now I want to deconstruct that. And, you know, that's something that the tooltip tells us too. Hand drill. If you don't have a hand free, it will fall to the ground. And I will just leave that flat, because I don't want to jump back and forth turning this thing at the sun. That's actually an advantage for beginners when you change the world timing, like I told you about earlier. Because then you can just manually point that at the sun, and you don't have to change it very often for it to still stay pointed at the sun. Okay, what I'm doing here, obviously, is I'm laying some cables. How am I doing that? Well, you have your cables here, and also some in the electrical supplies. And I click the right mouse button to build, and then we have the choice what to build there. And that seems rather complicated, right? I mean, not just do you have many choices, but you can also rotate them any which way, so that does seem rather tedious, right? But the game does not burden you with that at all. Because what you have to do just is, I mean, let's take this for an example. I wanted to make a curve here, which I did. And notice how I'm currently holding down the auto-rotate key, and it's giving me only the rotations that meaningfully connect. You can see the connection there with a yellow plus. And the other one is green because it's not yet connected. If I'm not pointing at another cable though, then I get any and all kind of rotations because, well, what rotations do you prefer right now? Here, the statement is pretty clear. So what I want to do now is, I want to make sure that the power coming down there from the solar panel goes here, but also goes there. But I can't. The tooltip tells us what we can do. We can use the wire cutters to merge. So you don't need the straight, you only need the straight cable and the curved cables. Then you can just, you know, that's all you need. Straight and curved. The rest will just emerge from your wire cutter interactions. Oh, by the way, sometimes you might have a cable that is inaccessible to you. Let's simulate that. I will just place a cable here on the wall. And here I cannot access the cable. I cannot do that. What I can do though, is I can build this. And then guess what? Bop. So why did I place it like this? Because the airlock needs power. And the airlock should be on its own power circuit. Now this sounds complicated. Power circuits? Yeah, well, you have to do some planning there, but you can also kind of wing it. I mean, you can just go, and if eventually something stops working or something, the cable blows, whatever, then you will think about what is going on there, and then you will adapt. So it's not like you have to sit there and plan things out. I usually go with the flow, and it works just fine. So now we need the area power controller. Why? Because we want to charge batteries. I mean, there's also the battery charger, but this one doesn't output any power. So I can charge my batteries with the solar panel, which is fine. Maybe I should actually take that thing. But I also need power from that battery. So I will... how will I do this? Here, I will place that on the wall here. And then just another cable, curved. If you're not sure whether what orientation the cable has, just, you know, rotate yourself. The cable's orientation doesn't change, but your clarity of what the fuck is going on, that changes. And now it's connected, which was also made clear by the yellowness. You know, when I did this, wait, can I still go there? Yeah. You see, both pluses are yellow, which means that both have a connection. So these area power controllers, how do I want to place them? You see, it's a kit. You can still use a mouse wheel to change their orientation. That seems appropriate. And then I go here and use the mouse wheel and do that. So I could have used rotation to the crowbar to open. It's also something the tooltip tells you. Crowbar required to close. I could use the mouse wheel to choose the different type, either the one that is oriented like this or the one that's oriented like that, because they have an input and an output side. See? Output. Does this work? And input. Or I could have used the rotation key, but then they would have been visually wrong, so to speak. It's arbitrary what you deem wrong. I just like them to be... I mean, this is where I build, this is where I construct, and this is therefore from where I want to look. So let's take these two batteries of ours and place them in there. And actually I will now choose swap this from the world into my inventory on the fly. Very convenient. So if ever there's power coming in from the solar panel, that will flow down this cable and will go into that and into this and will charge both of them. And if I turn this on, then power is also coming out here, and that is what I will need for my airlock. And if ever there's no power coming in, like right now, I still have power, because I have this buffer battery. Cool, huh? What do we want then? Well, doors, of course. I want to be able to close the station. This is my airlock supplies thing, where I have pipes, and a pump, and a console, and a sensor, and data disk, which I need just for the configuration. It's kind of a relic, but still needed. And the passive vent where a gas can come in and come out, and of course the doors, and the logic that I will put into the console. So let's put up some doors. Use the mouse wheel to choose which kind of door you want. For example, you can choose this door, which is a bit funny. I don't want to actually do this now, but also why not demonstrate it? I mean, I have the time. It's redone. Unlucky then. I have actually a video on this channel that is 35 minutes long. And how long is this video so far? 39. So that other video is shorter than this one. And it gets you from where we started with in this game to an actually completely built station with a station battery. Not this little thing there, but a big one. And all kinds of stuff that you need, including steel, you know, a furnace, everything explained very quickly. And that's basically the go-to video if you want a fast Stationeer introduction. See? We have a floor hatch. But that's not what I want, so how do I unbuild this? I guess angle grinder, yeah. And then the crowbar, I guess? No, I need the hand drill. Yeah, maybe I should toss out some things. The flares are pretty useful. Not here on the moon necessarily, because here, well, it's blue light. What's it for? Turns blue. Yeah, this one. You can actually spray paint them and then they turn blue, or you can spray paint them white. The white ones are very cool. I think I have some white ones here somewhere. Anyway, they don't excrete any pollutant or such, but they heat up the room. Currently not, because there's nothing that can be heated. There's a vacuum here. That's also why we have that in our coffee thermos cans, you know. There's a double-sided glass with a vacuum in between, and it's mirrored. So it's an ideal insulator. Vacuum is an ideal insulator. It's not cold, it's not warm, it just has no temperature. The reason that you get cold when you're in space is that you are radiating your heat away. But that doesn't happen instantly, it happens rather slowly. Still, it will feel cold, because if you're sitting in your room in the winter, you might feel colder than in the summer, even though the temperature in the room, as shown by the thermometer, is the same, because the walls are not radiating heat onto your body. See, and in space that radiation will certainly not be there, except if the sun is smiling at you with its diabolic skin-burning cancer grin. Okay, where do we want to go? Turn on the light and build the door. So we have seen the floor hatch, then we have the manual hatch. It's kind of like the floor hatch, except it's for the well, for normal people, not for people who climb. And it's not electrified or not logic controllable, just like the floor hatch. So that's not what we want for our airlock. Though, of course, you can use one. You can just make an airlock like this, not a problem. But then you would have to manually close them and open them, which is just a click. You don't have to actually turn the wheel or something. And then you would have to take care when you operate your airlock pumps and how you do that, because else you might have both doors open in your station atmosphere escapes, or you might forget to pump the room here empty before you open the outer hatch, and then you will lose one gulp of air basically. But it's possible. You can just make an airlock with these. It's just not automated then. Then we have the composite roll cover. Let me put that one up on the floor right now, I would say. And what's that for? Well, there are some things that you can place on the walls. You have already seen we have the cables. There is also these guys, and they will then look through this cover. But if you want to access things underneath, then you open it like this. There are even microchips that you can place there, and currently they would be completely inaccessible and invisible. And now let's finally put up the doors. Here we have the glass door and the composite door. Then we have the composite roll cover, the manual hatch, and the floor hatch. So we have seen all of them, but the composite door and the glass door. So can I put the glass door here? No, I cannot put the glass door here, because the glass door, if you compare the two, I will just keep switching between them. Maybe you can capture the difference with your eyes. Not the color, I mean the geometric difference. There are two door halves that will move to the side in both cases, but the composite door has smaller door halves, and so they don't move to the side so much. See? And that's why the glass door needs more space. So I will just put up both doors, since I can, because here I still have the room for that, so you can see both of them. Hey, didn't I have... Oh, there's another one. I thought I only had one set of doors. That would be awkward. And here we put the composite door. You can actually put the composite door in circles, like here and here and here and here in all places. That would work at the same time, I mean. And just like with the manual hatch. By the way, the manual hatch can be welded shut, or you can open it and then you can weld it and then it can no longer be closed. So you could basically build a whole labyrinth of these things, and then you weld some and you don't weld some others, and then, well, send some other player in, and, well, good luck finding your way through that without a tool. Okay, so the composite door. And now we need plastic and a glass, I believe. Where's my welder? Did I toss down the... Oh yeah, I did. Never toss down your tools. Yep, I mean, you know that you have to point at them with the screwdriver or whatever, and then you see what to do. And since we know that now, let's assume that you don't have to hear that again. Here, I now have completely constructed this door, and now I can open it still with a crowbar. So the last step employs the crowbar, and the steps after that, which are no steps at all, they're just opening and closing the door, also employ the crowbar. That's why that can be mildly confusing. Okay, and now you will see the door has... let's put that down. Generating 37 watts from the sun. Interesting. And is this producing anything? 0 watts, so that's not so friendly. You will see that these have connectors. There we have the power connection, you see that in the tooltip. And there we have the data connection. By the way, you can adjust the scale of the user interface. Let's scale it up to 150, which is crazy. But that makes for a very large tooltip, right? And I set that to 100. It looks like this, and I think you want me to keep it like this, but no, I don't wanna, because then I can't play this well. Wait, where was that? I don't remember actually. No, it was 50, I think. You can see that scale here is not realistic, it's not mathematical, it's not like 50 is half the size of 100. Else that would be much smaller. Right? Or am I wrong? Okay. Anyway, so we have the power connection and then we have the data connection. Same here. What is the data connection good for? Well, let's press escape to pause the game and press F1 to read the Stationpedia. You can also pause and play here with this button. Not sure what I just did there. Anyway, so we have the Stationpedia here, which has basically the go-to things that you should take a look at, and they can browse from there in all kinds of directions. You can even copy some things to the clipboard by clicking here, and the purpose of that will become clear to you eventually. It's actually pretty neat for programming, because you can program in this game. Did I mention that? Not just chips, but you can program them with a programming language. But there's also some chips which are just logic things like AND and OR reading out a value or writing a value, or just a chip that has a built-in switch so you can turn things on and off. So pretty convenient for beginners and for advanced players. Now let's take a look at the glass door and click here and click on the non-existent scroll bar handle, whatever is going on there. And wait, before we do this, here you can see the graphics, what that thing kind of looks like, and then we see some description. These descriptions are sometimes wrong. The game is still in early access, and certainly the developers, which are really strapped for cash. Very few people are buying and playing this game, and so the developers are financing this entirely with Icarus and other projects that they have. But they want to keep going with this game even once it reaches version 1.0 in a few years. So this is kind of... I mean, they know what they have here. Maybe you don't know yet what you have here because you haven't really played it yet. But as someone who has played for 2,000 hours, I can tell you there's something here that everybody should have seen from the inside deeply enough to really know what it is. This is a very valuable game. Anyway, so these descriptions up here, they are human-made and they are sometimes fallen out of reality. I mean, the game simulation has changed, but this text doesn't change. Everything below, though, that is straight from the simulation, and therefore it is correct. Here that's the human description, and then here we have this stuff. Human description, but here is the logic stuff that is just true. So let's look at the glass door. Yeah, there are other types of doors also, but these are not airtight. If we scroll, we can see 10 watts. So once the thing is powered, it will actually consume power the whole time. And you can see here the maximum pressure, and that's actually the pressure differential. So if I have like 10,000 kilopascals here, that's kilopascals, in my station, and I have also 10,000 kilopascals out there, then there's not a problem, because the pressure differential in that moment is 0. But if I, for example, have the moon here with 0 kilopascals, there's no pressure, and my station has 200 or more kilopascals, then the door will take damage. And once the damage reaches 100%, the door will blow out and is destroyed. And, well, then you are in kind of in trouble, right? Kilopascals. Let's talk about that unit for a second. Here we can see the target pressure of my suit is set to 101 kilopascals. Let's say 100. That is 101 kilopascals is the pressure that we have on Earth at sea level. So we can see here if we have double that pressure on the indoors and the outdoors have no pressure, then we're in trouble. See, so that you get some kind of feel for the scales that we're talking about here. One thing first, you can see here that this door is constructed from the kit door. That is something that you're probably still confused about. What are the kits? What are the doors? You have seen that in action. I took the kit, and from the kit I built the door. And from the kit I picked which door to build. And if I scroll down here, you can see again the doors that we can build there. The manual hatch, the manual floor hatch, for example. You can also see the build stages here and what's required. So all the information is here. So I can go to the thing that is built, but I can also go back to the thing that builds it. And here I can even see how it is created. I mean, I found that on my lander, but you have 3D printers in the game that are just big boxes with flashy graphics where you toss some resources in and choose a recipe from. And that is what's required to print this particular kit. You can also see the flash point. So if the temperature is over 100 degrees Celsius, this thing should... and if there's fire, then this thing should start burning. Or auto ignition, if the temperature is more than 300 degrees Celsius, this thing should actually start burning even if there's no fire. But I think that depends also on the air pressure, so I'm not sure what these values are meant to represent. Maybe that's for 100 kilopascals. If the pressure, I mean, for example, we have the humans are trying to implement fusion, nuclear fusion, and for that they are dealing with plasma. That is gas that is so hot that basically all the it's ionized gas, basically, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it even beyond that? I think that's what that is, right? That is so hot that the particles have been stripped away. The electrons have been stripped away from the atoms, I think, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'm talking out my ass here. But that has millions of degrees. That is hotter than the sun. Or at least the surface of the sun. So you might say, how in the hell do we contain that? Because the gas has very low pressure, and so the thermal mass, the amount of actual heat that is in a given volume, is very low. Even though the temperature, the excitedness of the molecules, of the particles that are zipping around there, is very high. And so this flash point and the auto ignition point here doesn't hold true for all gas pressures. I would assume that it's for 100 kilopascals, but I don't know. Yeah, the thing I wanted to show you here, for example, for the glass door, is that we have logic values. You can see whether the door is open. Down here you can see the logic connector, and I can read out whether the door is open. And I can also write into it whether the door is open, so then it will close. Closing takes some time, opening takes some time, and while that happens, idle will be 0. And when it's closed and open and no longer moving, then it will be 1. And what else is there? Some other things I will not go into now. And then we have lock, for example. That is something that comes into play soon once we have the airlock. Then I cannot operate the door manually, but the logic can operate the lock. And here we have the mode described. You can see here we have a mode that we can read and that we can write. And in the case of the door, the mode means we can operate it by hand, or it's controlled by logic. Okay, let's cable up the door. Here's this battery being charged. We can see here that the battery has 30% charge, and what's coming in is, well, some electricity. So that actually should charge the battery, if I'm not mistaken. 30% though. Is it charging or not? I want to know, so I put a small battery in, which would show that much more quickly. Any change? For some reason, it's not charging. What have I done wrong? Oh, a cable blew out? How did that happen? I'm at a loss for words. This could be a bug, you know? I mean, the game doesn't have significant bugs to speak of, at least in single player. But, oh, now it's charging. Hello. And then it will be blue. I don't know why the cable was blown out. That happens normally when you have short circuits, when a cable network is kind of feeding back on itself. When I would, for example, take this cable on the output side and would connect it to the input side, then a cable would blow. Or if you're drawing more power than a cable can take, because these cables are limited. We have the heavy cables, which can take 100,000 watts throughput, and we have the small ones that we are currently using, and these are the two types that exist, which can take 5,000 watts. Don't know what happened there. Anyway. Yeah, maybe it's a bug, but on the main branch that you normally get, there are very, very few bugs to speak of when you play. On the beta branch, sometimes things are changing so drastically that the developers have to kind of pick up some pieces before they go back to main. But I have been playing beta exclusively for the last 1.2 years, and I've recorded all my videos in it. So yeah, that should tell you something about stability. Okay, so we have this actually not cabled up correctly yet, because not both doors are connected. Now they are, but that's not an airlock yet. We need the console, which will have the airlock controller. I will put that here. Oh, maybe I should explain the console a bit, huh? So here we have the console that I can rotate any which way. The display will always be oriented correctly. And then we have the double-sided console, which is kind of like the door, which has two outputs. So what's the difference between these two? The difference is just that here you have data and power connected. And here you can have that separate, which can be interesting when you have multiple cable networks. Here you also have that separate, but if a device has only one connector, then that will definitely be data, and if it is a device that has power, which most power devices have, then it will also be power at the same time. So yeah, and then we have this one that's just like the simple one here, except it's diagonal. It's basically a matter of choice, or if I want to place it here, then I can better read the screen maybe. And then we have the LED display. I mean the LED. Wait, the LED display. No, that's correct. Light emitting diode display. If I want to make a bigger one, I need two. You can see that here in the tooltip. Need more kit consoles. Or here I need even three. Anyway, let's place the console and put in the airlock chip. There are also other chips, but let's not care about those, and then close it up. That is now ready for use. Yeah, let's actually connect that. What about my water? Well, if you play in easy mode, which you should as a beginner, you can just take your water, even though your helmet is closed, and like in real life, astronauts also don't open their helmets every time they drink, can just click here. Now maybe you've seen that this jumped from 18 to 69 in one go, and so in other words, as long as I don't release the mouse button or the progress bar has been filled, I will not actually have ingested anything. And so if you're in an emergency situation, if this is at 0 and the third entry shows up here, which is your health, and it keeps counting down because your body needs water, then you want to do this. You want to just click very shortly, because then you have like 1% here, so the damage is over and your healing is even actually kicking in, and then you have all the time in the world to, to drink some more. Same is true for eating. In normal mode, normal difficulty, and in stationeer difficulty, you cannot eat and drink through the helmet. So then you would have, for example, to use this box and evacuate it if there's hazardous atmosphere, or fill in some oxygen, whatever. You have to think on your feet. Really, a lot of the difficulty and complexity of this game is emerging from the simulation. And currently I'm playing on the easiest, simplest world of all, the Moon. It has some downsides, so some argue that Mars is easier because it has an atmosphere. And so you can draw, for example, CO2 from there, while here our gases are limited. Because if I waste all my gases here, I have to go out and dig up some gas. This is oxide, which has lots of oxygen and a little bit of nitrogen. So if I would use that stuff and would fill the resulting gases somehow into my oxygen tank that I'm carrying in my spacesuit, then at some point I would suffocate. Nitrogen, Stickstoff, nitrogen, is not hazardous. But if that's all you're breathing, then you're not breathing oxygen. Oxygen is what you need to breathe. So, and as opposed to CO2, which gives us the suffocation feeling, nitrogen would just, you just basically go out like a light, and then you're unconscious. And if there's no more oxygen coming in, then you're dead. How far are we here? 33. What's the next step? The airlock. So you want a nitrogen filter in here if you also have nitrogen into your canister. Ideally though, just keep it pure. That is why, why this canister here, the oxygen tank, you should not use that. You can open this up here, I can just release the gases. I don't want that. Because this thing has pure oxygen, and also, look here, we have this pressure. We have 3,400 kilopascals. And here we have 7.6 megapascals, so 7,600 kilopascals. If I put this in here,
Air tank critical.
The pressure falls, and the pressure in here, in the canister, they have equalized. But since the canister here, the container is so very large, that doesn't drop to like half or whatever, but only by a bit. Makes sense, huh? And don't do this, because if I do that, then the atmosphere in here, which currently contains some CO2, or lots of CO2 actually, will mix. It will mix with the
Waste tank critical.
With that tank, and then it's no longer pure. Okay, that's not really a problem since you have CO2 filters, but anyway, you want to keep your breathing pure to oxygen. In this game at least. I mean, in reality, you shouldn't breathe only oxygen, only in special circumstances or special setups. And you also don't want to breathe too much CO2. I mean, in reality, you don't want to go over like, let's see, 4%? 4% is already extreme. 4% is already extremely high CO2. But it's already beginning to become toxic then, But here in this game you can have 80% CO2, and I find that sad. I hope they will implement CO2 toxicity at some point. Okay, now let's use a sensor, or maybe I should first turn on the console, which doesn't do anything because we also need power. Now it's on, it's saying error in config, so let's fetch the disk and put it in here. Where is that? Where is that slot? Here on the left. But even if it's down here, you can still reach the hover box, so it's easy. Now we can configure. What does this mean? Well, I have to tell the box which devices to control, because maybe you have understood by now that the airlock is not a crafting recipe like in other games maybe, but it is something that dynamically emerges from the parts that you're using. And the game is not saying, well, you have these parts, so I guess that's an airlock. No, this will be an airlock because it functions like an airlock, and it will function like an airlock because of the parts that we're using. So it's entirely engineered. So what this thing wants to know from me now is, well, for example, what sensor to use to detect whether there's still atmosphere in here. I don't have a sensor, so I cannot select one. And also, if there would be a light here, I could also select that light, and then that would turn on whenever the airlock is in use. Which would also make the airlock slower, because the light will turn on, and there will be some waiting, and then the airlock cycles. That's a warning sign, basically. Now I can only select the doors. And you can see here glass door and composite door, and you see exterior and exterior. Huh? What's that supposed to do? Well, use your intelligence. Click one. What happened? This one is now selected. But that's not all that happened, yes? So I think it's pretty clear, right? You're telling the airlock logic which of the doors is your exterior door. Thankfully, we have the doors of different type. There's the glass door, there's the composite door, so we know which one to select. But if we have selected the wrong door, like I just did, you can also use this. This door is now disabled, because it's now under control of the airlock circuit. So, see, once I've selected this door, the other one would become the interior door. Ah, rather easy, huh? But there's still an error in the configuration. What is the problem then? Well, it needs a sensor. Let's look at the sensors. Here we have the daylight sensor, which is usually placed on the ground because it also gives us some angle of where the sun is. And if you want to program your more advanced solar panels, not like this one, which is just flat on the ground, if you want to do that, then you need to use that orientation given to you by the daylight sensor and program you have to write that into your solar panels. But depending on how the solar panels have been placed, and also depending on how this thing has been placed, you have to kind of rotate these things. You have to add 90 degrees, add 180 degrees, or subtract, or whatever, stuff like that. And so that's why it's generally placed on the ground. Daylight sensor. Then we have the proximity sensor, which you can adjust to a certain distance, and if you're closer than that distance, this thing will turn visually green, and the logic that is connected to it can also read out whether it is activated. That is pretty useful. For example, I usually do that to my computers that I place in the game, with which I can program stuff, so that when I get close, they will turn on and turn off respectively. Then we have the occupancy sensor, which is similar to the... we have the occupancy sensor, which activates when I'm in the same room. Yeah, something about rooms. I'm currently in the so-called world. And here I'm in room number 9, and here I'm in room number 8. These numbers are arbitrary and given and are decided by the game, and they are logically dependent on what things you place here. As soon as I place down the scaffolding, the naked door that is not yet fully constructed, this already counts as a wall, and if a room is entirely surrounded by walls, fully constructed or not, it will become a room of its own. And the occupancy sensor can detect whether someone is in this room somewhere, or in this room somewhere. And then similarly, there is the motion sensor, which is almost the same thing. In the case of the airlock, it is the same thing, because the airlock is only one box. But here, we have multiple boxes in this room, and this thing reacts only to the box where you currently are. This even applies to the outdoors. If I place it here on the side, no reaction, beep, activated. No reaction. If this would be placed on the wall, no reaction, no reaction, and now reaction because I'm close enough, I'm in the box. And then we have the gas sensor, that's the last one, and we need that here. I don't want to go very far with this explanation video, as in smelting and station batteries and all that, because I don't know, it's just a spontaneous thing. I've done so many of these videos, and people who are seeing this, who are subscribed to my channel, they will probably think, God damn it, why did you do one of those again? We have enough of these. But, you know, I do always what I feel like. I don't have a plan, you know, different from other people, maybe. So that's that. Now let's select the gas sensor too. But there's still a problem. Why? Because this thing also needs to empty the airlock. And for that we need a gas pump. And here is one. The famous active vent. And where do we need to place this thing? Let's look at this active vent. You can see here it has a connector for power and apparently also for logic, because there's only one. And then we have a big connector, which is, well, obviously for the pipes. But where do we want to pump the gas? Well, let's say we have gas here, and then we enter the airlock, which is of course closed on that side and open on this side. Then we close this door, and now we're in this hermetically sealed box. What do we want to do with the gas that's here, that came from the indoors? Of course we want to save that gas, so we don't want to pump it to the outdoors. What we want to do is we want to pump it into a container, or, I mean, for simplicity's sake, just back into the station. So I will just put this up here, and then we place pipes which behave exactly like cables, except if you want to cross things, then you don't use the wire cutters, but the wrench in the other hand. So you also again need the curved and straight pipes. You can see here it turns yellow like the cable also did, and we have the plus, and with the two pluses, one of them is connected, the other one is not. You can also use curve here, whatever. And you can, where can we lay these? We can put that here. We cannot put that here because, you know, the glass door needs room to the sides. We can put it at the top of the entire glass door and also on top of the entire composite door. So pretty convenient. Okay, and then we need the passive vent, which is kind of like the active vent, but it doesn't have power. And there's another thing you have to understand. Some things in the game are devices, and some things in the game are just pipes? What should I say? This is not a device. This is just a pipe that is open. By the way, these pipes can burst, and so if you don't have a passive vent available, but you have means to make the pipes burst, you can do that. But be careful, if you have a pipe that is burst and is on an outer wall, then it will be a cross section where gas can stream in all directions, from the indoors to the outdoors, and vice versa, and so forth. Anyway, so let's connect that. Oh. Done goofed. Huh. Well, just, you know, place things differently then. There's also no problem with placing this thing on the ground. It's a bit awkward maybe, but who cares? By the way, the floor and such will not keep looking like this. What you're seeing is the very beginnings of the game. Later you can... I mean, I can do that right now to demonstrate it. Let's take one of the iron walls. These walls are ugly, but I just want to show you what that looks like. Oh, that's not what I mean. That's what I mean. Let's place a wall on the ground. And then close it up. What? Did I actually choose the fucking window again? I explicitly didn't want to choose the window. But accidentally I did. Okay, but, you know, maybe that's even better this way. Because now you can see what the wall does. Here, it intersects with the things that are sticking out of the wall, and the rest will be hidden. And once you have the walls made of steel, you can choose one, for example, it's just one color, completely white, completely black, whatever you want. And I use those mostly. Wait, that was wrong. The auto-rotate key here only gives me one option because only one is meaningful. Oh, I need the... Wait, what? What do I need? How do I get rid of this stupid frame now? Right. Oh, Drone Zone? Oh, damn, I wanted to subscribe actually to Sinfera, which is less spooky. Anyway. If you've made it this far, I don't think that was a deciding criterion, huh? And turn it on. And now we can select the active vent and the gas sensor. Oh, right. This... Now it no longer has any errors. But you can see here that something is red. Why is it red? Because there was a gas sensor once, and I deconstructed that, and then I put it in again. Now you might think, well, that's the same gas sensor. No, it's not. This gas sensor that I placed there is a new one. If I deconstruct that, that turns into a kit. And that kit is a new kit, because it emerges from the deconstruction process, and vice versa. That's just the way the game handles it. And this thing here, just like when you program something, you might address that with a name or the device type, or you do it like this thing does. You address it via its objective identity number of the game's database. And that's what happened here. I deconstructed that, reconstructed it, but now it's a different one here. And this thing no longer exists, and I cannot... what's the word? I cannot deselect it. But let me show you something funny. Two things. One is, I can now use the screwdriver on this thing. Does it actually tell me that? It doesn't. Interesting. There's actually a tooltip missing. I will take a screenshot of this, because this is a tip that people usually get. How can I reset my airlock, you know? You use the screwdriver. I can clear the airlock, and look at that. The door is currently locked still, even though the logic gate is not in there. But now the door is unlocked. Yeah, it's a bit unrealistic. Anyway, now the airlock is reset. It's cleared. We can select everything again. The glass door.
Power critical.
And the other things. It was not necessary what I just did there. I just wanted to show you that. These buttons, they don't do anything. And then I remove the disk, and now the airlock can be used. And the disk, I will just stick that up here, because this slot is a legacy thing that's not used for anything, but you can at least check it in with logic whether there's a disk in there. But this is irrelevant right now. I need a place to store the disk, and this is a good place. That's what this is. Now I have a working airlock. Not that this is the right time for this, but then again, maybe it is. Let's toss down this. Well, and by the way, if that doesn't melt, what you can do, you can use your welding torch on that, and if you later have the arc welder, which does not excrete any pollutant into your station, which I just did by using this welder, then you can also melt that. You can just melt it. Now we have 18 kilopascals. Most of that is oxygen. I will just toss down another one. Why not? And then we get to up to let's say 37 kilopascals, I guess. And I can now already open my helmet. We are breathing on the moon, babies. Okay, 35. But this is not all. It's not all we have done. We have not just tossed this down so it melted into oxygen and CO2, and now we can see actually oxygen and nitrogen. And now we can also see the CO2 rising because I have my helmet open, and so I am causing CO2 and I'm breathing away some oxygen. That's not all we did. What we also did is we caused the temperature to be a potential thing. You can see here that the temperature is rising. We almost have already 1 degree. And it will keep rising until we have 20 degrees. 30, 40, 50, 100 degrees. It will just keep rising. So you need a way to cool down your station. That's a pretty interesting thing, isn't it? Oh, I should maybe close the helmet.
Oxygen low. Pressure critical. Oxygen critical. Temperature critical.
Yeah, and that should basically conclude the this video. I will just show you one more thing, which is if you go in here and you cycle the airlock back, for example by clicking on the door, same effect, then it will now try to pump gas into this room. You can see that here. And it will try to reach 100 kilopascals, because that's the setting that this console has. This is just a simple airlock. You will soon print the advanced airlock chip with the wait, let me cancel the cycle. With the auto lathe that you can build, that's the 3D printer that I connect then to the indoors APC and I mean, I could explain tons of this game, but I don't wanna. I don't want to go this far this time. Anyway, and then with the auto lathe, you can print the electronics printer, and the electronics printer in turn can print the advanced airlock chip, and the advanced airlock chip has some settings here where you can define the pressure to which the airlock shall repressurize the box before the door opens, and I usually set those to 0, so that when you cycle the airlock to the indoors, you will not have to wait for that to refill, but it will just oh, my power is gone. So it will just open the door immediately. So that's a functioning airlock, which is super fast. And it will also separate 2 atmospheres. Currently I have 1 pump here, but the advanced airlock insists on 2 pumps. So I would put one there, and then a pipe there, and then probably not a passive vent, because where would I place that? Could place it here on the wall, it's not a problem. You can also put the active vent, the other one, you could put that here, and then you could put the passive vent directly adjacent here. Because devices cannot be put adjacent to other devices, but that thing is a pipe. And so you could place that directly adjacent to this dude, and then you only need 1 extra cable here. So the other one would be here, and the passive vent would be here. You have to place it, of course, from the outside, because you want to pump it not to this very box, but you want to pump it to the outside then. Anyway, so that so you have to abort the cycle currently, and that's a bit bad because this thing consumes 50 watts the whole time, but you can turn that off. You don't need that. You can just, you know, run the airlock like this. I don't know if I appreciate that, because I mean the airlock kind of needs power to be logical, right? But for some reason it doesn't. But now it pumps very slowly and we cannot abort the cycle. So we can do this. Maybe you want to turn off these things here so the spacesuit doesn't do anything anymore with your gases, because sometimes it might still make you breathe a bit from your oxygen. Not much, but a bit, even though your helmet is open and you have a breathable atmosphere. Because the spacesuit is very dynamic. It uses the oxygen, for example, for temperature regulation and such. Yeah, that's it for now. I think that's a nice view into Stationeers. Shows you a bit of how deep the simulation is, and shows you that you have probably not seen anything yet, and that you want to explore this on your own and want to get deeply into this absolutely unique game where you can build creatively a station in which you live that is not just like in Minecraft, consisting of some boxes that are decorative or are keeping the monsters away, but that have some simulation aspects to themselves, or that create a room that is then simulated with temperature and pressure and gases. I mean, you don't want to pollute the station with volatiles, with pollutant too much, because at some point you cannot no longer breathe in here, And then you have to purify the atmosphere, which you can actually do with some things that you find here in your survival supplies. Here we can take the box, and there's, for example, the air conditioner, portable scrubber. Right mouse button to unbox everything. And then the box is gone, then right mouse button to unbox the portable scrubber. Then we put some filters in, just like in our spacesuit, the same kind of filter. You can also do this, if you wish. And then put a battery in there, and bop. Now this thing will filter out the pollutant. Right here there's no more pollutant, and right over here there is still one, because the station needs some time to, you know, the gas has to stream to places basically. But this thing is now purifying the air. Yep. And if you have no filters in there, then it will just suck out all the air, which can actually be abused in case you don't have an airlock pump. In some situations, okay, that's a bit awkward. Let me just, shit, I didn't want that.
Low pressure. Oxygen low. Pressure critical. Oxygen critical.
What I wanted to do instead is to, god damn it. I wanted to deconfigure the airlock so that I have control over the doors again. Oh, the sound you're hearing is that thing being discharged. If it is a high tweety sound instead, then the power coming in is greater than the power that is potentially flowing out. Okay, let's close this door, which is now freely usable, and turn on the thing. And now it's sucking just in just the entire atmosphere from here. And so you can use that in case you don't have an airlock set up yet. Yeah. And if you need to repressurize, well, just flip the lever. Everything will come out again, including the pollutant. So yeah, you don't want to accidentally do that if you're using that thing normally. But, you know, that has been enough. Let's just blow up everything.
Pressure critical. Oxygen critical. Temperature critical. Cognition low. Temperature critical. Temperature critical. Temperature critical. Cognition critical.
Good night.
Temperature critical.